What's the deal between the Trump family and Qatar? You may have heard that Qatar is about to give Trump an airplane worth approximately $400 million, although a president isn't allowed to accept gifts worth more than $480. And this isn't the first unusual interaction between the Trump family and Qatar. In 2017, Jared Kushner's company was drowning in debt because of Jared's disastrous investment in a building, 666 Fifth Avenue. Jared needed a bailout fast, and he approached Qatar. They said no. Weeks later, the United States, out of nowhere, backed a blockade against Qatar. Then suddenly, Qatar takes a 99-year lease out on the building, reportedly worth, get this, $1.3 billion. Then, coincidentally, the blockade on Qatar ends. And soon after Trump gets reelected, Qatar and the UAE give Jared about $1.5 billion more. Sometimes corruption is hard to find. With the Trump family, it's in plain sight. Don't you think?
I could be a stupid person and say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane. We give free things out. We'll take one, too. And it helps us out. Because, again, we're talking about we have 40-year-old aircraft. The money we spend, the maintenance we spend on those planes to keep them tippy-top is astronomical. You wouldn't even believe it. So I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much.
So Trump accepts like a, what, billion-dollar plane, a jet from Qatar as a gift? First of all, it's bribery. Let's put the cards on the table. It's bribery. But follow that up with, it's this huge jet that has to be retrofitted with security systems like Air Force One. So that's going to cost like zillions of dollars, number one. And number two, do you think there isn't something hidden away, like a little tiny little chip or something where the people in Qatar, the ones in control, can just push a button and boom, if they don't get their way? The whole thing stinks. The whole thing stinks to high heavens. But you know what? Go ahead. Take the plane, Donnie. And then by the way, when his term is up, it automatically transfers to his library for his personal use. So, are you joking with me?
At this point, I guess Trump is determined to break as many laws as he can. He is now receiving a gift. It is a gift from the Qatar government. It should be remembered, in 2017, Trump was calling out the Qatar government for funding terrorism. It's now that he is receiving a gift from them. What is he going to give them in return? Of course, no one can gift you for free. They would need something in return. Then we expect Trump is supposed to be getting something in return. Everyone is asking, what is that something? In this video, I'm going to be bringing you different people reacting. Not only Democrats, not only the public, but also the Republicans, the party where he hails from. They are also trying to question him. They're not happy with that decision because the Congress had to approve the gift, and the gift wasn't supposed to be given to Trump as an individual, but it's like it's going to be given to Trump as an individual because after his presidency, he's going to go away with a plane, which is going to be replacing the Air Force One at the moment. It is a private jet. It's a jumbo jet. It is plated in gold. This is what we are going to be reacting around today, and let the video start.
So Qatar is giving Trump a $400 million jet to use as Air Force One. Now, remember, presidents aren't supposed to take big gifts from foreign countries, but rules and laws don't apply to them. We know that. And Qatar's sort of backing off. They're saying, no, it's a loan. You know, just to use as Air Force One is like a gift, you know, to show good relations between them. But Trump's saying no, that after his presidency, he'll put it over in the Trump library, and that means he wants to keep the jet. And you and I both know that it's going to take hard telling how many millions of our tax dollars to put all the tacky gold and stuff he'll want to add to it, before he uses it as Air Force One. But there's just so much. And then Pam Bondi, it turns out that she was a lobbyist for Qatar. Okay. And then Jared, remember Jared got, $2-3 billion from Saudi Arabia when Trump was going out of office. And now Don Jr. and Eric are over there doing some wheeling and dealing with Saudis. All this stuff, it's like, what a crooked, tangled web we weave with these people. It's like everything's tied together. Just odd. And then I keep thinking back to all the classified documents Trump was hiding in his bathroom. That, of course, nothing happened with it. But I wonder what all was passed on to the Saudis and to Qatar. Maybe they're paying for what they received. And Qatar, the only land boundary they have is against Saudi Arabia. The rest of the country sort of jutted out into the Persian Gulf. It sticks out in the Persian Gulf. So has it got something to do with the Gulf? And supposedly Trump is going to build a bunch of resorts and golf courses over there. Presidents and personal business aren't supposed to intertwine, y'all. Man, he's using his presidency up. But it's not like it's a surprise. Boy, that shit that he had in that bathroom was expensive, wasn't it? Yeah.
What would the Qataris want out of an exchange like this? Would they just give him a $400 million jet, Stephen, for nothing in return?
Well, that's not the Qatari way, for nothing in return. I think it should be obvious to everyone that the Qataris, as well as a number of other states in the region, have used their vast wealth to buy influence in Washington, D.C. And this is just the most obvious and stomach-turning manifestation of that when it comes to the Qataris. The Qataris have invested in many different areas in Washington, D.C., from think tanks, media outlets. They have invested in president's advisors, as you pointed out. And what they are trying to do is to ensure that their voices are heard, that they are beyond criticism in Washington, because there is a lot of criticism of the Qataris and their role in supporting different extremist groups around the region, or allegations that they support different extremist groups around the region, and are playing both ends of the stick when it comes to the conflict that has taken up a lot of our times over the course of the last 19 months, and that's the war in the Gaza Strip. Not only are they mediators, but they're also they've started the fire as well. This is one way in which the Qataris try to blunt the kind of criticism that they get in Washington and help ensure their own security.
MAGA, let's be honest. If Biden accepted a $400 million flying palace from a foreign government, you'd be screaming treason. You lost your minds over a fake China wire transfers that never happened, yet here's Trump about to accept a gold-trimmed Boeing 747-8 from Qatar's royal family, retrofitted to serve as Air Force One. After his term, it goes to his Presidential Library Foundation for personal use. Yet you're silent. He's just told working Americans they might need to bear the brunt of higher prices, and mocked people for buying more than $9 while privately touring his custom jet in West Palm. So tell me again, is this America first or just a grift first? Loyalty blind? I'd really love to hear how this isn't everything you falsely accuse Biden of. Even the huge Trump supporter, Laura Loomer, has come out against this, saying, I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him. But I have to call a spade on a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from the jihadists in suits. The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies that Hamas and Hezbollah have murdered U.S. service members. The same proxies that have worked with Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such a strain on the admin if this is true. And I say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump, I am disappointed. I am so disappointed. There you have it. Even one of Trump's biggest supporters is against this.
So in news today, it seems like Donald Trump is going to accept a luxury 747 from Qatar, and he doesn't know the Constitution, and he admitted that. But moreover, it's illegal against the Constitution to accept gifts from any other government official from any other country. This is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, and this specific law prevents from other government officials from other countries trying to bribe or try to get their hands into our government by giving gifts. While the president legally can accept gifts on behalf of the United States people, it has to actually be given to everybody. It can't just be one gift that he's accepting for himself. So he's going to use this specifically for Air Force One. And it reminds me of when the Soviets gave the United States president at the time a thing to hang on the wall that had our presidential seal on it for the White House, only for them to find out a couple years later that it was a listening device. That's what it's giving. How much do you want to bet that thing's bugged and they're just going to be listening to all the conversations that he has while he's on Air Force One?
So the same Trump administration who has declared Hamas terrorists is now accepting a gift of a $400 million private jet from Qatar that funds Hamas, that the United States has declared a terrorist. But I thought the United States didn't negotiate with terrorists. So why is it that when our president is offered a $400 million private jet as a gift, all of a sudden it's okay to negotiate with people who... You see what I'm saying? If the U.S. has declared and decided that Hamas is a terrorist organization, why are we accepting a gift from Qatar, who actually funds Hamas? Over $1.8 billion since 2007, they have funded Hamas. Now, that's neither here nor there, but I thought the United States didn't negotiate with terrorists, especially the Trump administration. So why is it okay for us to accept gifts from Qatar now? Can anyone explain that to me? Because I'm having trouble. Because it really seems like a double standard to me, and I'm having a hard time unpacking that. So any help would be greatly appreciated.
I literally can't. Trump is going against the Constitution again. This time he's accepting a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar. Yeah, a foreign government literally gave him a private plane. Here's the issue. The Constitution clearly says in Article 1, Section 9, that no federal official can accept gifts from foreign states without Congress signing off. And guess what? Congress didn't sign off. So Trump's team is trying to spin it, saying it's technically a gift to the Department of Defense and will eventually end up at his presidential library. But he's flying it now. Ethics experts are calling it out because this isn't just shady, it's unconstitutional. If we let this slide, what's to stop other foreign countries from buying influence with billion-dollar gifts? Did you think about that one?
Nothing says America first like the President of the United States receiving a plane from Qatar to use as Air Force One. Donald Trump is set to receive the largest gift any president has ever received from a foreign national. The royal family of Qatar has gifted Donald Trump a Boeing 747 jumbo jet. This luxury plane will be used to replace Air Force One until the end of Donald Trump's term, which will then be transferred to the president's personal library of belongings. Trump is scheduled to fly to Qatar next week. Well, he will receive the gift, which is a $400 million plane that they describe as a luxury palace. This is causing some concern within the American government and American people because they're saying that it's not even sure if this is legal, even though the White House lawyers have approved it. The Emoluments Clause of the Constitution bars federal office holders from accepting any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state without approval from Congress. But administration lawyers were given the gift as a green light. As someone who predicated their entire platform on America First, America Now, Buy American, Everything's American, to receive a plane that officially the president will use for the end of his term from a foreign government is really crazy. Imagine if any other president has accepted this bribe. Imagine if a teacher accepted a bribe, if a lawyer accepted a bribe, if a doctor accepted a bribe, but our president can accept a $400 million plane from a foreign family who represents a government. Wow.
Since when is accepting a $400 million plane for personal use okay with the MAGA crowd? This is the Hunter's laptop crowd. This is the Hillary Clinton email crowd. This is the Obama tan suit party, but a $400 million gold inlaid plane that Dumpy Pants is going to use for Air Force One and then for personal use after he leaves office? That's fine though. The craziest thing about this is the plane is a gift from Qatar. And if y'all don't know the connection between Qatar and Donald Trump, it goes back to his first administration. Qatar gave $105 billion to Jared Kushner to help bail out his business on 666 Fifth Avenue. This was right at the beginning of Trump's first administration. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi was a consultant to Qatar, getting $115,000 a month for consulting with them before she became Attorney General. Qatar has also given $1.8 billion to Gaza over the years. Now, a lot of people speculate that a lot of that money went to Hamas. Now, granted, Israel knew that this was happening, and Netanyahu was warned repeatedly that that money was going to Hamas, and he didn't do anything about it. And I feel like there's a reason for that, but that's a completely different story. In the meantime, Trump has been having secret meetings with Hamas for about 2 months now, excluding Israel from those meetings. And today, Hamas is actually supposed to be releasing one of their last Israeli-American hostages to show goodwill to Donald Trump. Yes, I'm glad that that hostage is being released, but what did they get in return in these secret meetings that Donald Trump has been having? And was that plane part of the deal? Trump said he's going to start using that $400 million plane as his new Air Force One, and a lot of people in the intelligence community is freaking out because they are quite sure that plane is a security risk. Think of it like the Trojan horse. Trump is also going on a trip to the Middle East soon to speak to companies who have Commonwealth funds tied to Trump's businesses. Not only that, but Trump's kids actually did a conference with these countries showing them how they can spend their Commonwealth funds to do business with Mar-a-Lago. I mean, the corruption is rampant. For you guys who voted for this in the name of draining the swamp is now an ocean. The Abu Dhabi Commonwealth Fund is using $2.2 billion in Trump crypto to make purchases. Qatar and Saudi Arabia are building resorts and villas in his name. And you wonder why he's not saying anything bad about the Middle East anymore. You remember when the Middle East in his last administration were the shithole countries and we had to do something about that and he was targeting them that time? Well, he's not saying anything bad about them, and I wonder why that is. Even people like Laura Loomer is coming out against him. Who'd have thunk that I'd agree with anything that Laura Loomer says? But this is corruption at its finest. There's a reason why they want to keep the news cycle moving as quickly as possible. There's a reason why this administration wants to be as big and as bold and destructive in the United States as possible. Because he doesn't want you looking at the things that he is doing outside of the United States to further his businesses and his wealth, while all of us are waiting for the shelves to be bare in our stores in America. If you voted for this and still support this, you are not a patriot. Stop using that word. That's our word now.
No, taking a private jet from the royal family in Qatar would not be a bribe. That's not a bribe. Is it a bribe? Just because it's not one now doesn't mean it doesn't have future implications. As a presidential gift, Donald Trump is set to receive a 747-8 jumbo jet from the Qatari royal family. Not only will he be accepting this gift from the royal family, but he will then be turning this jet into the actual Air Force One for the next 4 years in office. Can't wait for the comments about how this is going to strengthen our relationship with the Middle East. You can strengthen your relationship without doing that. This will be the first time since the conception of plane, like Air Force One, that a president will be using a completely separate aircraft as their primary form of travel. There are many reasons and many times why presidents might have to take a different aircraft, but it's never been their actual primary form of travel. Would never be a gift from another country. So your question might be, can he accept a present this big? Is a gift this big actually an acceptable form, or is it a bribery? Technically, maybe. As per the Constitution, there would have to be congressional consent for this to happen. Additionally, there are a few things within the plane that don't make it currently as advanced as the Air Force One that is being utilized now and the future Air Force Ones that are to be used in the future. Boeing is actually creating new Air Force Ones because the two Air Force Ones now, they're 747s, there's only two and they've been around for almost 3 decades. Now again, even though the two Air Force Ones now are almost 30 years old, they have highly modified capabilities that the jet coming from Qatar would not have in any way, shape, or form. They'd potentially be able to re-up it, but it probably would not have the same capacities. I don't think the additional safety precautions like the missile detection and the radiation detection are probably the top of like what my concern would be, and my concern would be the internal comms, who has access to that, and et cetera, which I'm sure is what a lot of intelligence people are wondering.
Hi friends, We are seeing the most corrupt president of all time strike again. So now he's planning to accept a gift of a jet from a foreign government and later transfer ownership of that asset to himself through his library foundation. So they've already announced that they're making this perfectly legal, of course, by letting that gift go to the Department of Defense, not to him, and then later the Department of Defense will just transfer ownership of it to his library foundation. But I would like judges of TikTok to go ahead and enter the comments here and back me up, because I'm pretty sure that if you did this with, say, like corporate entities where a gift was received by one entity with the expressed intent of later transferring that asset to another entity, that would be grounds for tax fraud, depending on the specifics of the situation. But it would, if you have that expressed intent of transferring ownership, you negate the legality of doing it that way almost. So we're seeing that level of corruption. We're seeing this meme coin nonsense that the president has going, which is really just an ability for people to directly give him money. That's all that meme coin is, so that foreign powers can literally just give him money in exchange for gifts, in exchange for favorable policies and so on. And, not to mention the fact that foreign powers can't donate directly to campaigns in the United States, but they can buy his stock that drives up the value. So we're seeing corruption at its highest level in the most obvious ways, and nobody's doing anything about it yet. So what can we do? Well, we need to get on Congress. We need to get to Congress and force them to impeach. It needs to happen. It has to happen on many counts, the unconstitutional rulings, this corruption, etc. But let's stick with the corruption because it's the most obvious and the easiest, I guess, because it's directly mentioned in the Constitution that bribery is not acceptable. And the burden of proof for this bribery, for Congress to impeach and then convict, is different than in a court of law. If Congress simply says, yes, we believe he has been bribed, they can convict. That's it. They don't have to meet some beyond the shadow of a doubt. It doesn't apply that way. That's why the whole impeachment process is separate, is because the founders, when they crafted the Constitution, when they framed it, they knew that corruption shows up like this. They knew that corruption doesn't have obvious aspects to it, that it's not like pictures of a person handing a bag of money to the president. It's not going to be like that. They knew that bribery and corruption looks like it looks right now. So they made the impeachment process so that Congress can look at it and be like, well, there might not be enough proof to meet the burden of proof in a court of law, but we know it's happening, so impeach and convict. That's why it exists that way. So let's get Congress to do it. Who's with me? Let's stay woke, patriots.
By now, you've most likely heard about the Qatari jet that is being gifted to Donald Trump for use during his presidency and after he leaves office. So I found some pictures of it that we can see the interior. And while I show them to you, I want to tell you some of the differences between Air Force One and this Qatari jet before modifications are done. So I'm finding that this was originally owned, it's saying, by either a Qatari royal or somebody in the government, a high VIP, whereas, Air Force One is just owned by the government. The aircraft is a Boeing 757 or 747, and it has luxurious suites, private suites, and it's tailored for ultra-wealthy individuals. Whereas Air Force One, it was custom built with military-grade communication, defense, and security features. I mean, we kind of want to make sure that everything that is being talked about in there is pretty secure. For the Qatari jet, the defense systems are likely minimal or commercial grade, whereas Air Force One has advanced missile defense systems, secure comms, and hardened against EMPs. On communications, the Qatari jet likely high-end private systems, but not military level. I mean, we all know this already. Whereas Air Force One has encrypted, secure, real-time communications with military and government networks. Experts are saying that to get the Qatari jet up to the standards of Air Force One is going to cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, Trump during his first term had commissioned for 2 new jets to be used because the current Air Force Ones were from the 1990s. but they are not going to be done for several more years. And this is like a whole Veruca Salt moment where it's like, I want it and I want it now. So Harry's being gifted this jet. But remember, he gets to take this with him. It is going to be for his use after he leaves office. So we still have 2 jets from Boeing that are being made. So we're going to be using our taxpayer dollars to be paying to retrofit, get this Qatari jet up to the standards that we need for Air Force One. But there is still 2 jets that are going to be coming. They had originally said it was going to be $3.9 billion for these 2 jets, but that has now gone to $5.3 billion. Let me know what you think about this. It just seems like there's a lot of ethical and legal things that are going on around this. It does not seem like this is something that our country should be okay with. But let me know what you think in the comments.
Sound like corruption, look like corruption. It might just be corruption. Did y'all know that Trump is planning to accept the gift from Qatar, a $400 million plane? Like as a gift. So they're going to gift it to the United States government and they're going to make it Air Force One. But after he's president, you may be thinking like, oh, the next president get the plane. No, the plane's supposed to be donated to a foundation that is in charge of his presidential library so that even as a private citizen, he can still use this plane. Don't that sound a little crazy? And you're like, who did he ask if this is okay? Because this don't sound okay. He asked Pam Bundy, the Attorney General. But guess what? Pam Bundy used to make hundreds of $1,000s a month, or like $100,000 a month, lobbying for what country? Qatar. This is all sounds kind of fishy, right? And I find it interesting that we're just ignoring this type of blatant corruption. Like they're saying like, oh, it's above board because the plane isn't coming with any strings. Officially, it's not. Craziness. What y'all think?
So now MAGA has their panties in a bunch because your president is accepting a $400 million aeroplane from Qatar in exchange for, it's a bribe. It's fucking legal. Okay? It's illegal. And now you have a problem with it. Not everything else he's done. Not everything else he's done. You have a problem with this. Oh, I would take a bullet for you. What? Why are y'all regular people taking bullets for presidents? He has people that do that for him. I don't understand. I would take a bullet. Why? Why would you take a bullet for a grown, manipulative, SpongeBob-shaped, mayonnaise-smelling, bad built? Oh, my goodness. I can't help but remember when Obama wore that tan suit. Oh, y'all were ready to crucify him. Oh, clutch my pearls. A tan suit? Get the fuck out of here.
And I just want to say, what the hell is going on in the United States of America? Like, this is absolutely crazy. Like, the fact that this man wants a $400 million plane, and they're going to give it to him. He's going to get it. Like, make no mistake about it, okay? The fact that they're allowing this to all happen and nobody's batting an eye. Our country is being sold. Like, we don't have a democracy anymore. Like, the Qataris can just put $400 million in a meme coin or whatever the hell he has going on. And now Air Force One is no longer good. Okay. We're now accepting gifts from foreign countries. Did anybody just talk about how him and his children just got a golf course in Qatar? Or Jared, $3 billion from the Saudis and his investment funds? Did anybody talk about how the Trump enterprise is making $2 billion with a B every 2 weeks since he has been inaugurated? And by far, we've all probably come to the agreement, at least the woke people in this country, that these first 100 days have been horrible. I've been watching, sitting back in the sidelines. You know, we just watching, we observing. And boy, you 70 million people got yourselves in a bit of a pickle. You thought you were electing the law and order man. Or as some people would say, I voted for him because his policies. What policies? You know, he's the reason that the victims of 9/11 couldn't sue the Saudi government because he gave the Saudi royal family immunity. He's the reason that all of these issues with our economy and the economy that he inherited, which was good, is going to shit.
But hey, what do I know? I'm just a black historian here in Florida trying to make sense of all this bullshit. I mean, Lord Jesus, we are living in the South and we're living in some strange ass times. And I don't want to scare anybody, but you just have to make sense of this shit. I mean, what is the end game here for this guy? You have power where you could actually do something good, right? You could actually help veterans. You could actually fix the border, right? That's such a problem. You could actually fix Head Start. You could actually help mothers and fathers who are trying to work and do all they can, but they can't afford it because school is just so damn expensive for young children. We could do these things. This is a Congress that has full power and control. What have they done for the American people? What have they done for you since they've been in power? What major legislation can they say they've passed that has affected your life? I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? Come on. They got to find a new boogeyman. It's immigrants, it's blacks. They're taking your jobs. They don't want to work. You think Eric Trump or Barron Trump's going to get out there and pick fruit? Hell no. People in my own community wouldn't do it. But they all want to complain. It's time to wake up, people. Okay? I don't ever really come on here much, but just sitting back today watching some of the breaking news, especially with this jet. I just know if Barack Obama got a $400 million jet from the Saudis or Gaddafi or Burkina Faso, it would be all hell breaking loose in Washington. Yeah, those racist Republicans would be crying in the streets. Impeach him, impeach him. He's Muslim, he's not born here. But yet we can get $400 million planes from the Qatari government after Don Jr. and Eric were just over there 2 weeks ago signing the deal on the Trump golf course. This man can't even fucking play golf. This is ridiculous. I don't know. If I ever get a chance to go to Washington and visit the White House, I'm just going to say, Donald, what are you doing? What is your end game? You can't keep bullying every reporter that asks you a question. You can't bully people you don't like. You're the president of the United States. Act like it, okay? Enough's enough of this bullshit. You want to crypto this and steal that, and you and Elon. I mean, we're fucking tired. Excuse my French, we're tired. We're frustrated. We have lives, jobs, kids, all that stuff. Real life going on here. We don't get to live in a bubble while you people just exploit everything. And another thing, no matter what you do to try to erase Black history, it's not going anywhere. You know why? Because we're going to continue to teach our children, no matter what. We're going to continue to educate them on our ancestors, and we will continue to educate them, letting them know that slavery was interrupted African history. It doesn't define us. It doesn't define me. I will let my children know that they are descendants of kings and queens. God bless America, and God pray for us all.
So Qatar wants to gift Trump a Boeing 747, and he just might keep it like swag from an after party. I keep getting asked about this because I'm a former aviation journalist, and I also used to work at Boeing. And while I can't speak on behalf of Boeing, I have a general idea for how airplane deals work. First off, that $400 million price tag, that's Boeing's old list price for the jet, new over a decade ago. Insiders now say that a U-747-8I like this one could go for under $100 million. Still, it's wild, but let's not act like it's a Fabergé egg. Some airlines can't even give these things away. They're gas guzzlers, and they're really brutal in terms of fuel consumption. And the whole gift a jet, win a friend move isn't new. In 2018, Qatar actually did the same thing with President Erdogan of Turkey. It's a geopolitical soft power move wrapped in leather seats and gilded sinks. But still, there's no free lunch. What are we expected to do in return? A $400 million favor or a depreciated one? I did notice a little headline last week that said Trump suddenly started calling the Persian Gulf the Arabian Gulf, something Qatar and the UAE have long wanted. So that could be an indicator. Fun fact, though, Qatar added their 747 jets to the fleet just as their national airline, Qatar Airways, inked billions of dollars in jet deals with Boeing. Buy enough planes, and they will essentially give you a VIP jet for very, very little, and that's likely what happened here. The whole point, though, is to keep Boeing ahead of Airbus of a sales game. That's all water under the bridge, but still something for consideration. But now Qatar, friendly with Iran, friendly with Hamas, now wants to give Trump an aircraft. It's very, very rich considering that Trump is wanting to prosecute or throw out foreign students who are protesting in favor of Palestine here in the United States. Even Laura Loomer, who's once said she'd take a bullet for Trump, is calling for this to be something that doesn't happen, that Trump has gone too far. So yeah, Trump's favorite America First brand slogan and a monarchy's thank you jet. This is really twisted soft power, in my opinion. It's corruption, or perhaps it's just plain embarrassing. What do you think?
Earlier this week, the news broke that President Trump is going to take an extended tour of the Middle East, including stops in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, three of the richest nations over there. And today, the news broke that the Qatari royal family is donating their personal Boeing 747 to President Trump to use as Air Force One, and then as his personal plane, Trump Force One, after he departs office. Now, they're going to donate this plane to his presidential library so he can use it for personal use after, making this probably one of the largest gifts of a foreign nation to America. This plane is going to be worth around $400 million. Or somebody donate something like that to me. God bless. God bless America.
A friend was saying, I wonder what right-wing Trump MAGA supporters think about Donald Trump taking a $400 million bribe, an airplane from the government of Qatar. And so today I talked to one. They were pretty uninformed about what had actually happened. They thought it was Qatar Airlines that had given it to the government of the United States as opposed to the government of Qatar giving it to Donald Trump for his personal use after he left the White House. And this is why I think it's so important that we continue to try and have conversations with people we know who are sort of MAGA adjacent, because they're really not getting the news. I actually checked out the New York Post to see if they had written about it, and they did write about it, but they buried it underneath headlines screaming about how Donald Trump was having so much success on the tariffs, which is also a lie. The Wall Street Journal had an article on the lower half of the front page about it, talking about the ethics. But by and large, the right-wing media is not really covering this to the extent that they ought to, considering it is the single largest example of corruption we've ever seen in this country. I will say, shockingly, Laura Loomer, who is one of Trump's most diehard supporters, actually made several tweets yesterday saying that it was completely wrong and unethical. And I was able to use that example to help speak to the Republicans I know about how it's not just me, this liberal person, who's angry about it, but also conservatives being angry about it. So please make sure to keep engaging with anybody you know who's right-wing adjacent about how bad this is so that we can help them find the light. And I'm not talking again about the diehard MAGA. They're a lost cause.
As we come to the end of the video, that is what most people had to say about the bribe. It is the flying palace that he was gifted to Trump. So people are calling it the bribe because they don't really know why Trump was given that gift or that bribe. And that was it. Hopefully you liked the video. We'll meet in another one. I'm out.